2, 1. Full course yellow is deployed. Full course yellow is deployed.
Yes, hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of Full Course Yellow. Happy New Year, happy Christmas, happy birthday, happy Hanukkah, happy Easter, whatever it is that you happen to celebrate, and all the best to your family as well. Welcome to another year of Full Course Yellow. We hadn't planned on coming back this early. In fact, I hadn't planned on doing anything at all, to be honest with you. I was very comfortable just sitting there, nursing my sore shoulder and watching the cricket, but no, nonetheless, it feels very early in the year. It's still daylight outside. It feels very strange indeed. So we're early in every sense. But obviously, coming up, we've got news on Brodie Kostecki. The situation was much news and discussion as we can have on Brodie Kostecki, the reigning Australian Supercar champion. It's confirmed he will not be at the opening round. However, at this stage, Erebus are saying that he is certainly still a part of the team. We'll talk about that and we'll show you whether the statement that was released this afternoon. Other things I'm sure we'll find time to talk about, but probably a shorter show. That, of course, depends on you. If you've got anything that you'd like to raise, any questions you'd like to ask, just do that and pop them in the comments, pop them in the live chat on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel or via Facebook Live. So we do welcome you all back for joining us. Because I suppose because of the strange hours and all that, and people having to get up early in the morning. We're down a few. We've down a few numbers tonight. So it's basically it's a three-hander tonight. Chris Ritchie is with us once again. G'day, Chris. How are you?
Good, mate. How are you?
I'm very well. Very well. And did you have a good Christmas?
I did. Yes, but I'm glad it's over.
Yes. Well, I'm certainly glad it's over. Peter Johnson, Pete, what about you? You have a good break?
Yep, I did. Thank you. Yep. What about you all? Yep.
I was very lucky. The one good thing about having the broken shoulder and basically being confined to home and confined to bed was I had a ready-made excuse of I'd love to come, but I can't travel with I'm all sort of bound up and I can't move, and yes, I'd love to come, but sorry. So that's sort of so I managed to avoid Christmas and New Year pretty damn well, but we're getting there. The sling is off. I can move I can do that. Hello, so I can wave to people. That's nice. I can't shake their hand. I had people at the tennis come up and say, "Oh, g'day, mate. You're the guy from a bit late," and whacking out their hand. It's like, no, I can't. I can do it with this hand, but the right hand is still out of bounds. But the interesting one will be when somehow with one arm and with my limited use of my right hand, I drive up to Winton next week for the supercar test day. So that could be so sometime late Tuesday afternoon, if you're travelling between sort of the outer eastern suburbs of Melbourne and Winton Motor Raceway, if you see a red get sort of going, it's not because I've had too much to drink or I've over-imbibed on the painkillers. It's just that at some stage I have to change gear, and when I do, the car sort of drifts into another lane. It's not that bad. Okay, let's talk about Brodie. Let's see, we've got comments. I'm just trying with what I've got. Yes, we've got here we are. We've got Dave Howard. Welcome. How's the shoulder? Well, we just heard about that. I've still got it. I've still got an arm. They didn't operate on it, thank God. Also, Box. Thank you. Thanks, Box, and thanks for joining us once again. SB is back with us again. Good to have you. Thank you for coming back as well. We've also got Roy Virtual R, he's our supporter from Online Invent and also from Motorsport Archives on his YouTube channel. And I know I think Roy's heading up to Winton as well next week for the supercars to get some footage for his channel as well, and we'll have some access to that as well. Also, he's heading up to Bathurst as well, which I will certainly be doing. As I said to a few people, come hell or high water, this year I was not going to miss Bathurst for about the fourth or fifth year in a row. So, this year it was like, I don't care what I've got to do. I'm going to get to Bathurst. So I will be at Bathurst for the 12-hour. In what capacity, don't know at this stage. And also Phil. G'day, Phil. How are you? Thanks, Phil, of course, one of our top photographers, also, poet, writer, author, all sorts of things. So g'day, Phil. How are you as well? Let's talk about, we'll get the, we'll fire up the ticker, a little bit of news I had time to throw in. And that's the opening story, of course, is this, what woke up sort of yesterday on my birthday, and once again, thank you to everybody who sent birthday wishes. Really appreciate it. But yeah, sort of greeted by the news that actually Richard is joining us. There you are. He's eye infection and all. He's with us as well. Richard, how are you?
Good, thanks.
But yes, so woke up, got the news that that Brodie Kostecki, there was problems with Brodie Kostecki, that he may not be at Erebus this year. There was a falling out, rumours of a fallout between he and Barry Ryan that go back to, the talk goes back to the Bend round last year. As I said, Kel's Caprice. I mean, Barry Ryan and Star Driver clashing is nothing new. Just ask Dave Reynolds. But Barry is... Barry's very much a stern disciplinarian. He's the man in charge. He lets everybody know he's the man in charge, and he's had great success in doing that. I mean, he took Brodie to a championship. He took the team to the championship. The interesting thing is, if Brodie does go, and of course he is contracted for this year, is legally contracted for the rest of this year. But if Brodie does go, Erebus, the championship team, will come in with neither of their drivers from last year racing for the team again, because of course Will Brown has gone off to replace Shane Van Gisbergen up at 888. It would also mean that Supercars as a championship, they don't have their champion, possibly, depending on what Brodie does, but they may not have their champion racing to defend his title. They won't have the second place guy there as well, because Shane's already over in NASCAR. Probably smoothing the pathway for Brodie and possibly others to move across in the future as well. I mean, there's rumours around that Cam Waters is pretty keen on having dipping his toe in the water there, and Chaz Mostert's already done international stuff. So
this philosophy that Erebus seems to have is if you don't want to be here, then go. It's all very well to have that philosophy, and in some ways it's probably good, but in a lot of ways I think it's bad because, pardon me, they lose a lot of consistency, and they've had, David Reynolds walk, who won a Bathurst with them. Now they've had a championship winner who looks like he's walking. I think it's not a very good philosophy. I think.
The interesting thing is we don't know, like in terms of we got a message like before the show from Jared here, Jared Crabbe, saying Supercars told press not to report it until issues could be addressed. Now I'm certainly not on the A list. I'm certainly not on the inside. However, I am on the mailing list, the media mailing list for Supercars, and certainly we got nothing that I saw from Supercars saying don't talk about this. The inference from Supercars' statement late today is that there may be some, some issues in terms of health, whether physical or mental or whatever, because they basically said, we're just going to let this low, but we wish Brodie all the best in this difficult time. So it certainly is inferring that there are some problems there. And I mean, he's been thrust into the limelight, very, very quickly. I mean, I think that this time last year, if any of us had have said, Brodie Kostecki will end up the year as champion, and he'll be also, Rick Hendrick, and that will be looking at him for a future career in NASCAR, you'd probably say, well, that's a great story, but it's, it might take a bit longer than a year. But no, I mean, it all happened in a year. I mean, it had an extraordinary successful year. And, perhaps when all of the adrenaline sort of wore off after the championship season, and it was time to sort of pull the boots back on again, he might have taken a look at things and gone, I don't know whether I can do this again. Don't know if I want to do this again. So we don't know. I mean, all we know at the moment is, what we've been told in terms of stuff from Erebus, and basically what we've been told is this is a statement that they put out. Contrary to media reports, Brodie remains part of the Erebus Motorsport family. Brodie has indicated that he's not in position to take part in the opening round of the championship. Todd Hazelwood will stand in for Brodie at Bathurst from February 23 and 25. So that's the statement. That's the statement that came out. So that's the entire statement. There's absolutely nothing else there. But then I said, soon afterwards, about an hour later, Supercars put out a statement basically saying, our thoughts are with Brodie at this time, and please let people work through this. And so,
because earlier this morning, I looked at after looking at Speed Cafe, I looked at other websites, other motorsport websites, including Supercars, and they weren't touching it. They weren't going anywhere near it.
Yeah, that was it. It was one of these things, and I was starting to wonder whether it was, like in pro wrestling terms, a work, whether it was like, the series is starting up again. We've got to get, into the media. We've got to get some traction. Hey, let's play up a rivalry. Let's play up, something, because nobody, as you say, nobody touched it. But if what Jared said is true, and the people were told, please don't touch this. And as I said, we certainly weren't. And to be brutally honest, I wouldn't have any, in terms of what we report on our sort of Facebook page and what we're doing now. It's like, thanks, Supercars. I don't know. All we're doing, all we're passing on is what we know, and what we know is there has been the statement from Erebus. Brodie won't be at the opening round. I am assuming he won't be at the test on Wednesday next week up at Winton. I'm assuming that Todd will take his place up there. So yeah, let's have a look and see what happens. But it's a big blow for Supercars. They're trying to with the changes of no Ford versus Holden anymore, and with they're trying to play this up as, well, you don't follow cars anymore. You follow teams and you follow drivers. Well, if you were following Erebus because of Brodie Kostecki and Will Brown, well, you've lost both of them. If there's been no talk at all that I've heard about Brodie going somewhere else within Supercars, the only thing that has been assumed has been that, if he goes anywhere, he might just sort of, jump on the plane and say, no, ultimately I want to be with NASCAR and I'm going to go there and I'm going to start early. Yeah. But we don't know. I think what Phil is saying as well, got to feel sorry for Betty. Lost P1 pit garage due to rule changes. Lost Will to 88. Brodie, whatever. It's when you read some of Betty's statements in terms of don't know why but you get the impression she still loves the sport, and she's nowhere near. I mean, she's not at every round anymore. She used to go to every single round. Now she's got her farm in the Blue Mountains or wherever it is. She's got her animals, got her chooks and her donkey or whatever the hell it is, and she seems to be living the sort of the good life, as it were. They're self-sufficient up in the mountains, and she only comes out on special occasions to events like Bathurst that she really wants to go to and she really wants to see. And you'd have to think after, if this becomes a problem, and she's very loyal to Barry Ryan as well. I mean, this is the thing that has come out on a number of occasions when people have criticised Barry for his very sort of disciplinary style and his militaristic, because he has a background in the military apparently. So his disciplinarian style, doesn't go down well with everybody. But Betty has said, quite rightly, look at the results he's got. When you consider the resources that team has compared with some of the others, they've done an incredible job. Particularly last year, it was just, they were the only people who got, on a regular occasion, who not only got close to Triple Eight, they actually beat them.
Yeah.
Is there a risk, though, that Barry could engineer this to a standstill?
Well, I mean, the other risk is also, I mean, it depends on, like in how much important the driver is. It's like the Max Verstappen thing. I mean, if Max Verstappen, left Red Bull all of a sudden and said, right, I've been given this stupid amount of money to go and race for Haas, and so they take, so Max gets out of the car and Daniel jumps in, or somebody or another young driver jumps in. They manage to lure Oscar or Lando or someone away from McLaren, and they pop them into the car. Would Red Bull still win the championship simply because they've got Adrian Newey and a much better car and a much better setup than anybody else? I mean, if Barry orchestrates victory for Triple Eight this year with, Todd Hazelwood lost his full-time seat. If Todd jumps into that car and starts winning races and starts doing what Willand and Brodie did, then you'd have to say, well, perhaps this driver thing is a little overrated. And who would you who are you going to have? Are you going to have? I mean, if it came down to if push came to shove, if I was running Red Bull and it was a fight between Max Verstappen and Adrian Newey, for all of his great success, I'm going for Adrian.
I'm going for Adrian.
He's the man he's the genius who who plays the game and knows the rules and gets around things, and in order to maximize, finds the loopholes to drive through. Drivers, Max is very, very good, extremely good. But, how much better is he than in the same car than a Lando Norris or an Oscar Piastri or somebody like that?
You do remember what they said at the lecture, don't you?
Oh, that Claude Rowell. Go on, Richard.
Oh, no, there's just Tico Williams, is that his name? Saying that one young lad pops up his hand and says, look, with all the rule changes and things you're not allowed to do, how do you ever make any new improvements? He said, we don't. We employ young people like you to come up with some great ideas.
Yes. And in terms of the seminar, I'll let you know that what Richard's talking about is Claude Rowell. We were lucky enough many years ago to go to one of Claude's Optimum G seminars. We were very, very lucky. He invited us along. We filmed the whole weekend, and these things are very expensive. To let you know, we can't say who was there, but let's just say it was a who's who of Australian motorsport engineering. There were some very big names there, none of whom would acknowledge publicly that the other was there. It was like, don't point that camera at me. Well, you pointed, don't point that at me. I'm not here either. But straight after Bathurst, Claude is coming back to Australia and is doing that same seminar up in Sydney on the Bathurst. The Bathurst or after the Bathurst weekend. So go to his Facebook page, Optimum G, and also go to the website. They put up a lot of stuff on the YouTube channel. They put a lot of interesting stuff on there. And Richard, I've already said I can't recommend this thing highly enough. I reckon, I imagine you'd be saying the same thing.
Oh yes, and Stuart could always drop those tapes into me.
Yeah, well, I think Roy's got a few of them to try and convert them as well. But it's a lot. Unfortunately, it is a long process, and as each year goes away, it's getting harder and harder to find things that will reliably play. Because we had mixed, if you remember, we had sort of mixed media there. We were running DV cam, mini DV, Super VHS. And I think there might have even been the Audiomatic as well, but I know we had Super VHS and we had...
That's the one.
Yeah, so we know there's stuff there, and I know I've got stuff on DV cam, but and I think that's basically what Roy's got. But even just little bits of it, I mean, were just magic as well. But go
told us some very funny anecdotes.
Oh, yes. None of which we can legally tell on this program.
Oh, can't we? Damn.
No. Well, for two reasons.
Not about the wheels?
Definitely not about the wheels. But the wheel at Spa, the wheel at Spa goes round and round. Yes.
What about the chicken?
Well,
Can't
he just
tell
went to
that.
the other side of the can't tell we can't tell anything about the interesting plumbing in the Indy car with the nitrous oxide. Yes. So So what? G'day, Paul. How are you? Knackers is back with us again. Erebus was helped by the fact that SVG's heart didn't seem to be in it. Yeah, he wasn't. It wasn't in it all. It really wasn't in it all year. It wasn't just the NASCAR thing. He didn't like. He said he doesn't like those cars. He doesn't like the Gen 3 cars. He lost a lot of his advantage in being able to change. To change things on the fly. He didn't like the whole. They could use some advice on some wheel nuts. Yes, that's true. I think they fixed that. But yeah, I mean, Shane sort of stayed in contention just because of his almost by accident it seemed, and then towards the end of the year, I think he sort of went, "Oh, hang on, I can still possibly win this thing. I'd better pull my finger out." And but yeah, I think for a whole bunch of reasons, his mind was not fully focused, and but you can only beat the people you're up against, and Brodie beat Shane, and Brodie beat everybody else as well. He beat Chaz and Tom, and he beat everybody who was out there. He beat the lot of them.
Yeah.
So good luck to him. Yeah.
There was one or two occasions there where in qualifying, I thought Shane sort of almost deliberately threw it so he could have some competition and come up through the field.
He's a very competitive. He likes a challenge. He likes a challenge, and he loves the concept of racing. We know the interesting thing I think that's going to be, with Shane. I was talking to someone in America about. I'm sort of working on some things for the new series of the show coming up in March to have some sort of to be able to follow Shane's progress and other Australians in the United States. So I was talking to somebody who has a podcast over there, and he was asking me about about some stuff about Shane, and I pointed out that Shane did not have a great relationship with the local media because he doesn't like doing the media thing. And he said, but everyone here, the media here loves him. He's so friendly and so outgoing and all that. And it's like, yeah, that was for one race.
Yeah, he won't be like that.
When there was probably little or no pressure on him at all. No one was expecting him to win that race, apart probably from Shane.
There's one or two others.
Well, I certainly didn't. I knew he'd do well. I wasn't expecting him to win until it was, as I said to this guy, I said, it's literally, it was, I turned on the television at, sort of 5:30 a.m. and saw he was in 18th position, and 2 laps later he was in 14th position, and I thought, he's going to win this bloody thing. We've seen this before. And sure enough, he did. But we know that NASCAR is very, very tied in with the media. It's very open. The drivers are all have great access. As I've said, it's easier for us to get an interview if we really wanted one online. We could almost certainly it'd be easier for us to get an interview with a NASCAR driver than it is to get one of the supercar drivers to come into the studio, because the NASCAR media organization is very good. The team media is very good. The drivers are very experienced and they're media savvy. Whereas I think, depending on his success and all that, I think that's going to tire Shane pretty quickly, of having to do the insert sponsor's name here. Chevrolet did very well today, and thanks to everybody from the insert other sponsor's name here team. Proudly brought to you by other sponsor here, and I don't think that's Shane. I think he's going to find that side of the NASCAR much, much harder than anything he does behind the wheel. The stuff behind the wheel, I'm sure he'll pick up pretty quickly, but the stuff with the media, he won't like. As I said, the first time he came onto the show, when his first year in Australia, he was only about 17 or 18, and he walked into the studio and he said, "No offense," he said, "I hate this shit. I do not like doing this at all." And you think, okay, well, he'll get used to it and he'll be comfortable. I mean, Craig Lowndes used to say that. Look at Craig now, but Shane never got used. Shane never liked it. He just wants to drive and have fun in cars and on bikes and go into races and win races, and he doesn't want to sit there and play television star.
What about the big show before the opening? They have a NASCAR. They introduce the drivers on a stage, flames, ticker tape, dancing girls, big band. Touch the hands, of all the audience as you go down the stage.
Yeah, the high five. Yes.
Oh, that'll be right.
Yeah, with the WWE. And now, the New Zealand, the Maori Warrior. He's not Maori, but Shane Van Gisbergen.
Boom, the flames go on. Ticker tape, the dancing girls come out.
Yeah, and all that. And Shane, high five and everybody. And everyone go, hey, and good day. And
well, they had that.
You can see
to a lesser extent, they have that at the Sydney Super Night, at the Super Night races. To a lesser extent, they have that, and he looks very uncomfortable when he's coming out and the flames are going.
Remember when they tried to Bathurst that year and they had that guy? I think he was from the wrestling or the boxing or something.
Motorcycle stunts. What was the one?
Gay Mark, incidentally. Yeah.
Happy New Year, all.
And to you too. Yeah, because he was terribly embarrassing because they were also international, and I think it was Antonio Giovinazzi was the one that got it. And in the car 20s, Antonio Giovinazzi via.
It wasn't just the internationals he was getting wrong; it was the Australians too.
Yeah, no, it was. It didn't work. I mean, that stuff sort of works for the WWE. I mean, but and it could work. I mean, you've got to find you like a bit of showbiz, you like a bit of razzmatazz, but you can't go over. When they did it at Las Vegas, I mean, there were drivers who were, like Daniel, who was sort of like, and then Lewis, who was like, I know, Daniel Ricciardo, yeah, and got that. And they came on, Max Verstappen, and Max says, get me the hell out of here.
Leave me alone. I know what I'm doing.
I know what I'm doing. Yes. So.
I think Charles Leclerc, or was it? No, it was Checker. Checker got the best reaction.
I forget what was Checker's reaction.
He just stood there and stared at him and didn't say anything. It was like, why are you shouting my name in my face?
Yeah. I think it's very hard for when you've that American approach. I mean, doesn't sort of work, and it doesn't work everywhere. I mean, in some places it does. It just does look embarrassing. And Max sort of said that at the time that like it was really. He felt a bit embarrassed about it all. He said, he didn't like the showbiz aspect of it. He's like, this is a serious sporting event. Where there's millions of dollars at stake. We're risking our lives going out and doing this stuff. It's not the WWE, but even though they do risk their lives as well, but they certainly find that hard, and it'll be Shane's there. But I think as Jeremy's saying under his new thing of Dogfish, Jeremy, how he points out earlier in the conversation he's yet to find a way of changing his name back from Dogfish. The wonders of YouTube. YouTube. There was, I think it was even one of the current drivers. He had terrible problems with Shane Van Gisbergen, but you can have all sorts of. Fun and games. But once again, as Richard Hammond's in NASCAR, for all of what it's worth, he's more relaxed. It certainly is. I mean, everybody that I haven't had any direct, apart from, I think I said last year, the media department is really, really good to work with. Like at one stage, I said like I'm having trouble downloading because they just said we're going to put everything in 4K. All of our news releases are going to be 4K, and it's like that's fabulous. Love that. Except it takes about 6.5 hours to download a 10-minute, with Australians. And they said, oh, okay, we'll put it in lower resolution and we'll send you it. And they set up like a folder directly for slower. And that was done within, and they sent me the email straight back. It was like, oh, sorry, Brett, we aren't, perhaps we're a little bit comfortable with all of our super fast internet over here. Perhaps we forget that there are other, less advanced countries where we don't have that sort of thing. And yes, we'll change that straight away. And as soon as the next thing I got a thing saying, oh, please redirect the FTP server to this. Here's a lower res version of what we put out. They also had some problems with YouTube where they were starting to copyright the stuff that they were doing, and I didn't do it. I thought, oh well, okay, the content ID is kicked in, and NASCAR have gone like everybody else, like supercars, and are protecting their IP and issuing takedown notices. A few NASCAR dedicated YouTube channels were once again straight in touch with NASCAR and said, hey, what's going on? We're getting, our footage is being taken down. NASCAR media immediately sent out an apology and said, we're really sorry. This is an unintended consequence of some other things, of our trying to protect us from bigger players. We have no intention of going after you guys, and we thank you for the exposure you're giving us to a niche audience around the world, and if there's any problems, let us know and we'll whitelist you straight away. So I just sent them a thing saying, could you whitelist us? And they sent me saying, done. Imagine supercars doing that.
They wouldn't get back to you for a week, would they? Yes or no?
They wouldn't get back to you at all. This is the thing. You send things to any of the supercar teams. Got to say NASCAR. Yeah, I wouldn't say that. I think there are some elements of the supercar coverage that are very good. The NASCAR in particular, the coverage, they waffle on a bit, but technically it's very good. I wish I'd have said a couple of years ago there was a restart. I think it was at Chicago, and it was the best bit of motorsport television I've ever seen in my life, because they basically the commentators shut up completely. And they just cut it like a sequence out of a feature film, and it was basically 4 laps, and it was the most gripping 4 laps you ever saw in your life, because the way it was a masterclass, and from a television production, to someone who has taught television production over the years, and I was thinking at the time, oh, I wish I had this, because this is what you'd show. This is what you'd show students in a vision switching and directing class, to say, here's how you generate excitement. Here's how you generate atmosphere. Not a word is spoken. It was just car sounds and really, really good camera work and really, really good cutting. And they did a fabulous thing. Virtual, I saw them where you gather race lap. Yeah, then just spend a little time of editor. That's it. Yeah, I mean, if you're covering this stuff in real time, they give you everything you need. I mean, if we were doing a dedicated NASCAR show, they give you all of the track logos, they give you all of the team logos, they give you all of the race sponsor logos, they give you all the results. Within 24 hours, you have interviews, you have sound grabs of every single driver in the race. They're just so many levels ahead of anything we see over here, and even better than Formula One in that respect as well. Yeah, I don't know. Anybody else see Mark? Did you see the Sprint Car Championship on 7+?
No, I didn't. No, I was saving my energies at the time to watch the 24-hour.
Yeah, I think that was the problem. I was sort of, I was I was basically on Friday, I was watching the drags, which were also on 7+. From 7, then they got washed out, so on. Then I started flipping over and watching a bit of that. Was a very good, Brett. That was a very good coverage as well. It was a bit clunky in part. There were a few technical issues here and there, particularly with the RF cameras. There was a bit of pixelation, a bit of breakup. That's budget as much as anything else, but it's also sort of it's also time to try and fix fix those issues, and they're not in the friendliest spot in the world in terms of getting fast internet and fast signals out. I'm not sure how they were broadcasting, whether they were going back via IP, via the internet, or whether they were using a satellite or whatever they were using to get the pictures back to 7. But yeah, it was really, really good coverage. The team behind the sprint car coverage over in Perth were basically put that together, and the sprint car Thunderstar, and that's really good. Now, speaking of sprint cars, and Brett might actually know more about that, a new American series, I think it's High Mark or something, a High Line, I think it's called. I think Casey Kane's got something to do with it. But they're starting this year, and they're already talking about the possibility of running rounds in Australia next year, as soon as the end of this year, next Speedway season, and that would have a lot of the top American sprint car stars and their cars coming out to Australia. And that might be, with the collapse of World Series sprint cars in Australia and all of the politics there, it might just take somebody from outside to sort of come in and say, hey, if you guys can't get your shit together, let us do it, okay? But yeah, it was a good it was good to see that coverage. Channel 7 Plus have a lot of motorsport. They're going to cover the Speed Series as well. So the opening round at Sandown will be on 7 Plus. Bathurst 12 Hour will be on all of the national drag racing championship, Top Fuel, Funny Cars, Pro Stock, etc. The Group 1 categories, they're all on 7 Plus as well. It's all free to air. You don't have to pay anything. You just need a smart TV or an Apple TV or a Chromecast or something like that. Just download the app, sign into it, and you get all of that. Plus, of course, all your local footy and all. It's pretty good. Paul was at the Classic. Yes, yeah. So you could tell that people had done it before. It wasn't one of those things, and it does make a big difference. I can't say too much, but we've actually been approached by somebody who's putting together a television production from in pit lane, who has just said, we just want you to come around and tell us what to put, because we can do. We've been covering sport for years. We know nothing about car racing. We have no idea. We have no idea what to point our cameras at. They all look the same to us. Can you or somebody from your show come around and basically sit there and look over the shoulder of the vision switcher and the director and say, no, that's what you're following. You're following that. There's a dice there. You follow those two. That's what they're looking at the moment, because they've been tasked with. They're a production company that's been tasked with doing a motorsport event, and they've got no idea. We've covered lots of golf and lots of tennis and lots of cricket and football. Never done any motorsport, and then suddenly have gone, wow, this is hard.
Hope they're going to give you some money, at least a little bit.
Well, that's part of the negotiations at the moment. Jeremy, it was also mentioned in that story that New Zealand was very much mentioned as possibly the site of at least one or two rounds as well. Because I think that's the thing. That's like, if we're going to go all that distance, we could do a couple of rounds in New Zealand and then finish off whether it's part of the series or not. They're not that far down the track yet, but it was certainly something that apparently was discussed at Warrnambool among some of the people who were there, saying that, so they're looking for suitable venues. Certainly the Motorplex, Perth Motorplex, is one they've put up already and said, yes, well, that one. You would imagine Warrnambool would be another one. What are the I don't know what the tracks are in New Zealand anymore. I think Western Springs is closed, hasn't it? That's the only one that I sort of remember. Perhaps you could let us know. But yeah, I'm sure there will be Kiwis over here, and it's going to be a really exciting thing if it happens for the sprint car scene here in Australia, which is already very big, and it's just getting bigger and bigger. As is the drag racing. Drag racing at on Friday from Sydney was fantastic. Unfortunately, the weather took over. Drag racing, off-street drag racing, of course, this Friday at Calder Park. If you're in Melbourne and you want to sort of head out, looks like there will be a full drag race meeting happening late February at Calder Park. They're going to close the place down for about a week. They're going to prep the track properly. There's not top fuel, it's going to be the sportsman categories, but that's still, that's still some really fast cars. That's your supercharged outlaws, competition eliminator, modified, all of those sorts of things. So some really, really top competition cars, proper competition, not just off street stuff, proper competition, dragsters and all the rest of it running at Calder Park in February. And then they're going to sort of take and this is the problem. It's going to take them a week to prepare the track, and then it's going to take them another week to basically unprepare the track so that the circuit racing guys can get back on it again. Hey, listen, I noticed we're at 42 seconds. I just want to go through something quickly because I saw some of your posts and I saw some posts otherwise, Mark, and I see your lower third down there. Unfortunately we've lost Mark at the moment. So hopefully Mark can pop back in and can find out what's happening. We've got SB remind us March the 2nd and Saturday to drive events running track days, full speed track days at the Dome. That's interesting. Yeah, okay. That's interesting. Okay, Mark is back again. I'll just hide that, and I'll bring Mark up because as we can see down the bottom, I saw your post on particularly Cameron Bartholomew, young XL racer up in Queensland, and just
series champion in about 2016, 2015. But he's always been a front runner, young fella. He's not. He's the thought just poured into my head that he's not 30 yet, but unfortunately, he never will be. Poor.
So what was I haven't heard much. What were the circumstances? I didn't hear what.
It was it happened at home. It wasn't related to.
Okay.
It wasn't.
Wasn't a car or anything. Yeah.
No.
Well, that's very sad because I saw your post there, and then I went and sort of had a look at his Facebook page and went, oh, he's only young, he's so young, and obviously had quite a bit of talent as well. So very sad.
Just one of those naturally talented type of guys who occasionally would get into a little bit of trouble because their talent would sometimes step on people's toes. That makes it sound harsher than it is, but what one make racing can be like. So, he was the second growth spurt that took off in after the initial creation of XL Cup racing, brought a bunch of drivers in, and Cameron was one of the best of them. Frequently, we had the Cam and Cam show, Cameron Bartholomew and Cameron Wilson, ex of V8 Ute Racing, I had some fantastic races with the stars of Queensland. Pardon me, of XL Cup racing from guys like Brett Parrish, of course, won a bunch of championships. He's only did a co-driver race with Darren Whittington, and Darren was Darren was only just got home because he was out helping out Darren Curry over at the Dubai 24 Hour. He's going to be much better. So also John Sorrigan, a historic touring car racer, Datsuns and BMWs. That was slightly more expected. He'd been ill for a little bit, so unfortunately, hasn't been the best of starts for the Queensland motorsport community in 2024.
Yeah, and of course we pass on our condolences and our thoughts to the families of both Cameron and John, and anybody who's. It's a hard time of the year, especially. I mean, when when you lose people, I mean, people say, "Oh, you know, what Christmas is no big deal," and when it's around this time of year, it's going to come back and sort of be with you for sort of, you know, yeah. There's always the first Christmas after, and it's always the first birthday and the first wedding and the first this, and especially with someone so young as in say Cameron's thing, and the potential he might have had, not just as a racing driver, but just simply as a young man and a human being, and you know, who knows what could have been the
brilliant father, and you know, his young
so
family
sad.
that unfortunately, so yeah, all
Yeah,
my
very
thoughts, and
very
go out
sad.
to his partner Chloe and his and his kids, and I will very much miss Cameron. He was a bright, happy bloke to have around the pits.
Yeah, and they're not
Also,
always in high supply at a lot of at some race meetings. So you do miss those people. It's like our old mate Alan Simonson. I mean, you know, there's so many there's so many places where you get there and you think back at sort of, you know, some of the fun times that you had with Alan and all the rest of it, and
Jason Richards and
yeah, Jason was another. I mean, just who there's, but that's as we all know, life is a terminal illness, and you know, unfortunately, these things do happen, and we've all been touched by them. But our thoughts do go out to the family and friends of both Cameron and John, and to anybody who's lost someone near and dear to them over the past few months. Plough on for you owe it to their memory to have the best life you can. That's the only way you can look at these things. On a much brighter note, I know you mentioned it before. Both you and I were probably, Mark, were up at strange hours watching cars running around in the dark at Daytona for a long time, and one of them was being driven by a guy called Matt Campbell, who is going to be driving at Bathurst for the 12-hour. He's going to be driving in one of the Manthey Porsches, but he was driving in another Porsche on the weekend in the prototype class, the GTP class, and he won.
Penske Porsche. Oh, it was so good to watch. They were the Hondas, the Acuras kind of weren't quite on the pace. The BMWs were fast, but they both had problems which caused the cars to die out onto the track, and they'd lose 9 or 15 laps, and then once fixed, they were fast again, but you know, you don't get that time back. And there was the number 6 Porsche, Penske Porsche was, well, we're going into the last couple of hours of the race. We had the surviving Cadillac and the surviving Acura against 4 Porsches, the 2 Penske cars, and 2 customer cars from JDC Miller and from Proton Competition. That was after last year, where I don't think any of the Porsches made it to the finish. All 4 of them finished this year, and you know, they filled 4 of the top 6 places in the result sheets. But yeah, Matt was all of the 4 drivers aboard Porsche number 7 were fantastic. And the Cadillac that they were racing against was the car that took pole with the hand in the hands of Pippa Durrani. And
yeah, he's a talent.
Oh yeah. So, and yeah, we had multiple passes between the 2 cars over the last couple of hours as the strategy pushed them to and from each other. It was going to be a great battle with the number 6 as well, but the number 6 4 times, no less, exceeded their power allocation during the race, and each time that's a drive through and hold for 10 seconds penalty. And
yeah, I think that's one thing that a few people like. I mean, it's the nature of that category, and that's part. But there are a few of the people of my generation sort of going, what do you mean? The power allocation exceeded power allocation? It's ridiculous, But
it's petrol. Part of the, I mean, if you run out of petrol out on the circuit, you're done. So it's not really that much different from. It's just the combination of this is part of what makes the hypercar regulations work so well, but there's a number of different. It's an insanely complicated formula, but
yeah, and as
everyone's
you say,
on board with it, and
the fact that
it
we had
works.
the fact that we had a Cadillac, we had Cadillacs on pole, we had Cadillacs dies in there. They're a normally aspirated dare I say it, old-fashioned V8, and then you've got the Porsches running, which are of course turbocharged, and you've got the BMW, which is a turbocharged V8, and we're soon going to have Lamborghini there as well. They will be they'll make their debut at Sebring at the next round at IMSA. And with people like Romain Grosjean being one of the drivers of the Lamborghini with Iron Lynx, and so it's just taking off like nobody's business. We also saw the race debut of the Mustang GT3. Wasn't quite as successful as they probably would have hoped first, but it was the first. It was their first race, and they sort of. I think one of the drivers, I think it was Richard Westbrook or something, said. He said we're better off. We're in a much better stage with the first race of the Mustang GT3 than we were with the Ford GT, and we know how successful that went on to be. So they're quite happy. The other interesting thing was, and I think this was very much sort of firing one across the bows of the management of Supercars Australia, because someone asked about the Mustang racing at the 12-hour. When it's eligible next year, and Mark Rushbrook said that yes, we definitely want to see the Ford Mustang racing at the 12-hour next year. However, there is a regular GT3 series in Australia, an Australian Championship, and we would love to be involved in that as well if there are opportunities and if it suits the company. And I think that's probably a shot across the bows of Supercars saying. We've got alternatives, pal. I mean, we could now, especially with SRO running the championship, it'll be a lot more professional. It'll have much higher profile than it has had in the past, and I have no doubt that if somebody, certainly next year at Bathurst, I'm sure we're going to see at least one or two Mustangs running, and I'm sure that if we see one or two Mustangs running, we're going to see one or two Corvettes running as well.
Yeah, well, there were 4 Corvettes running in the Corvette, the new, because it's equally new Corvette GT3 that was running this at Daytona, like the Corvettes previously with the GTE class, the class formerly known way back when as GT2. The Corvettes raced in the 2023 race, but this year we had 4 of them, and 2 of them were privateer cars as well. So it was fantastic to see for I get what they call the sophomore, the second year for the Corvette GT3s, and but mind you, they had their issues, and certainly the 2 privateer cars didn't make the finish, but the Ferrari 1 GTD Pro in the hands of Risi, old stages of American sports car racing, Risi Competition, and the Pro-Am, they don't call it that, it's just GTD Pro and GTD. The GTD class was won by Mercedes-Benz, an AMG GT3. So,
who incidentally, of course, have no involvement with the WEC, and yet they seem to be dominating. And they're also dominating the entry list at Bathurst as well. There's more AMG Mercedes running at the Bathurst 12-hour. Also, there's a very large field of Audis. Audi, of course, have basically pulled out of motorsport and sports car, but there's still a lot of them about in racing, and there's a lot of them at the 12-hour. We've also got Team WRT and the BMWs. They're going to be back, so that's good news. Good news there. And of course the Porsches. We've seen Manside Porsche have got their 2 cars. We've got High Top coming from Asia with top drivers including Kevin Estra and some others.
Who has recent Bathurst experience.
The recent Bathurst experience did very, very well there. So I would...
new class winner from the Dubai 24-hour in Mark Griffith. Griffo
Right,
won
yes.
his
Won his
class on the
class.
weekend over at the Dubai 24-hour.
Yeah, well, I didn't see much of
on
it
him.
because there was just so much. There was just so much on. I mean, because we also had Formula Toyota from New Zealand, and probably more of that coming up at some, because that was very. Congratulations, Christian Mansell won the Tasman Cup. I didn't know the Tasman Cup was even up for contention these days, but obviously they've decided to make it available for the Toyota series, the Formula Regional Oceania series over there. The cars looked great. The racing was good. We had obviously Christian Mansell won the main race for the Tasman Cup. Caleb Ngota was from New Zealand was second, and Tommy Smith from Australia was third. So, and they were up against a lot of good international talents. I think Roman Belinsky, who is from parts unknown, apparently he's leading the series at the moment. But great fields, and they're on television again this weekend on KO. The telecast from New Zealand is there. Also this weekend, I'm not sure whether it's on KO or it might even be on YouTube. The Scope Classic, which is the big historic meeting from New Zealand as well. For the Formula 5000s will be back in action there. They'll have their historic touring cars, historic sports sedans. The historic stuff from New Zealand is fantastic. So you got plenty to watch this weekend in terms of motor racing. I suppose that's why we've come back. So Brett Sell saying New Zealand Toyotas were great to watch. A very professional series. Have a look if you go online. Have a go onto their website and have a look at their information pack that they provide and how they run that series. It's very much targeted to young drivers, and it's not just turning up and racing cars. It's you get Thursday practice. You get specialized time with driver coaches. You get media training. They put on a great package that you can give to your sponsors. I mean, in terms of corporate facilities, there's corporate boxes for all the sponsors, corporate entertainment. It's a very impressive, and the media pack is very impressive as well. Gives you all the information that you'd ever want. It's a very, very professional series over there, and it's a shame we just can't get it sort of up and running in Australia. I know a lot of people who have tried to get it up and running, and they've gone, and they've basically been told by Motorsport Australia, if Toyota comes on board, we might be interested. And unfortunately, Toyota Australia have zero interest in it. I know people who have been in those meetings, and Toyota Australia have just said it just doesn't fit, just doesn't tick the boxes. It's not a car we sell. You can't drive one on the road. It's we have no interest in it at all.
Yeah, can they run in Toyota 86s instead of open wheelers?
Well, I mean that's
imagining that question.
Yeah, I mean we could do the can. We could put carbon fiber bodies on them, and mid-engine Toyota 86s with DTM style. That might be interesting. But it was great. Yeah, and they also had the 86s were over there. Toyota New Zealand are huge supporters of motorsport in New Zealand, and it's a very impressive package that they put together. We had the local sports sedans were running there too, and they were interesting because it's sort of run what you brung. I mean, it's like it's a bit like Super TT with the AASA. It's like if it's in the spirit. It doesn't matter if it's a DTM car or a Group 5 car or a Super GT car or a Trans Am car or an Aussie Sports sedan or a Time Attack car. If it's a sedan and it's got a big powerful engine and big wings and all the big tyres, it can race. So you get lots of variety there as well. So really great series. As Jeremy is saying, we got without Toyota. Without Toyota, there's not a lot. They are certainly at that high level. They're certainly keeping motorsport firing in New Zealand, and they're having success. I mean, you just have a look around the world. I mean, at one stage we had in Daytona we had a Kiwi won won too early in the case. I think it was Scott Dixon first, Earl Bamber was second, and it was like, and then further down the field, Scott McLaughlin was there, and they've just
Hunter McElrea made his Daytona debut as far as New Zealanders in the race as well. Didn't go very far, unfortunately. Hunter's car was the first car out.
Yep,
Fact,
New Zealand is becoming more. I didn't know New Zealand was ever irrelevant. I mean, it's always been relevant. I think I must say I've said this before on many occasions in terms of our dealings with all the New Zealand people that we've dealt back when they had the Trans Am series they were running, and they came and brought some cars over here to take on the sports sedans. Our dealings with those guys, our dealings with the Formula 5000 guys in New Zealand. My dealings when I went over there for the opening of Hampton Downs had just been spectacular. They've been so professional and just really great, really great to deal with. And as I got in trouble for saying it, but I said after Hampton Downs, so in terms of there, I said, the people who run historic racing in Australia and the VHRR and other people really do need to go over to New Zealand and see how they run their historic meetings over there, because they're very friendly, they're very good, they're entertaining, they're relaxed, they've got a wonderful feeling. They get all sorts of cars from all sorts of eras, and they don't sort of sit there and go, no, actually that sticker is 1.4 millimeters out of place from the original. Your car, off you go, you can't race here. None of that sort of crap. Really good to deal with. Great guys. Okay. Also coming up, I think this weekend down at I think Penrite have got an open day at their just down the road from me, pretty much over the road, launching their livery for 2024 with Grove Racing. So I'll probably pop over there on the Saturday, because as I said, it's literally walking distance. If I felt so inclined, it's about a 10-15 minute walk, but I will probably drive down. But I don't know if Doc's available. He might come out and do some stuff there as well. As I said, Calder Park on Friday. Paul put up there that Avalon racing again this weekend. I'm sure there's other. Mark, anything happening? What's happening locally in Queensland?
I have. I think we just had a small meeting at Lakeside weekend just gone. But this time of year there's not a lot happens in Queensland because it's hot and
it's wet.
It's wet.
Yeah, so, and that's unfortunately Willowbank Dragway have put out a statement saying that the improvements that they're making and the changes they're making to Willowbank, the Dragway are way behind schedule because of the wet weather up there, and they've sort of said, look, we're working through this, but they've had to cancel meetings already. They've sort of said they've looked into the future and said, look, we're not going to be ready. If you were planning on coming up for that meeting in sort of late February, it's probably mid-February. It's not going to happen. So they're still working at it, and but obviously the weather has been a huge problem up there. Very, very, very wet. In Queensland, and of course, the further north you get, the worse it seems to be.
It doesn't even have to be very far north. It's only 3 suburbs north of here where waters come up into houses and over the railway lines. So it's
been pretty wet everywhere. I mean, we had floods down here a couple of weeks ago. I mean, I got just down the road from me, the Heatherton Road was closed again. You couldn't get out of the place because we had one day that was pretty much washed out at the tennis. Incidentally, all to the people who said hello to me at the Australian Open, thank you for in case any of you are watching, thank you to that as well. I also had the situation. I won't embarrass him by sort of outing him publicly and all the rest of it, but I was talking to someone else who was working at the tennis, a young guy, and he said, I didn't work the first week. He said, because I wasn't in the country. And I said, where were you? He said, I was in America. And I said, holiday or family and all the rest of it. He said, no, I was just doing a sporting thing. And I said, what's sporting thing? He said, I was a car racing. It's like, Oh yeah, I was testing a Formula Ford 2000 for a team over there in Arizona, and so that's the people that you meet at the tennis. I sort of put feelers out to him as well because yes, he's going to be racing Formula Ford. Looks like he's going to be racing Formula Ford 2000 in the USA this coming year. So hopefully we can be able to keep in touch with him and get some information over there, and also have people join us. Unfortunately, this time on the show, it's about 3 in the morning in the United States, so it's not bad in England. In England, like for people in Europe right now, it's sort of around midday. So if anybody wanted to join us from Europe, Max, if you're out there, or Oscar, or anybody else, if you want to sort of jump online next Wednesday night. Although next Wednesday night, I don't know what I'll be coming straight back from Winton. Not sure if I'll have time to put anything together in terms of edited stuff for the show. I'm not sure whether I'll even get back in time because it depends on how late I leave there. And it is at the moment, it's definitely a 4-hour drive for me because I need to take some regular breaks because of the shoulder. So that's going to be well and truly the longest drive I've had in the last 3 months. So, but yes, we'll go up there. And the reason going up there is that it really is the only place you can get hold of, footage of supercars going around at speed that you can actually legally use, because supercars give you nothing. So, it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see how much access. It is open to the public, incidentally. If you're in Victoria or Southern New South Wales or the ACT, and you want to be a part of it, I think they're only charging $5 to get in, and there's a door prize and all the rest of it. So if you want to get those, you just want to turn up and get close to some of the cars. I think there's probably most of the Victorian teams will be there, as I said, including probably Erebus, it'd be interesting to see how much access any of us get to the drivers and teams there, how many people we can actually talk to, if any at all. And I've got to put that out to Supercars and just see what happens. But if we can get access for a few interviews, we might be able to run a couple of things next week on Full Course Yellow. I'll just let you know, In Pit Lane is scheduled to return. The studio's booked. The time slot is in on Channel 31. We're in the schedule starting in the first week of March. At this stage, we are still looking for sponsorship. We do have the support still of Roy and Online Invent in terms there, but we really need sort of main sponsors. I mean, we sort of got through. We barely sort of struggled through last year, but it still cost personally a lot of money out of my pocket and a bit out of Doc's and Pete's and everybody else who works on the show. It all costs us. It costs us more than time. Sometimes it costs us dollars and cents as well, and we don't necessarily have a lot of them to spend. It's a great opportunity if you want to, prime. As I said, it's basically prime time, free-to-air television advertising for less than the price than a 1/8 page in Auto Action. And so just think of that. The impact of an ad about that big compared with 30 seconds of mainstream primetime television advertising. In fact, basically it's 30 minutes of, because if you're a main sponsor like Online Invent has been, then that you've got the naming rights. It's In Pit Lane is brought to you by Online Invent. You could be one of those people too, whether it's shared with people like Roy and a couple of others, or exclusively contact us at advertise@inpitlane.com or the show at inpitlane.com. We'd love to hear from you, and we can get something together and go through the process of getting that up and running for the new series of In Pit Lane starting in March. But thank you to everybody for joining us. We'll see you next week. We've gone a little over the time, but we haven't done too badly, I think, for the first time back. So thank you to Chris, thank you to Pete, thank you to Richard, thank you to Mark, and thank you to you for watching us at home. Remember, if you haven't done so already, please go to the In Pit Lane YouTube channel, like and subscribe, and leave if you haven't left a comment, a nice comment, or leave a comment, because that's how the algorithm works. It's basically YouTube says, hey, people like this show, people like the channel, people are watching it for quite some time. They're interacting. We like interacting. We're going to recommend this show to lots of other people, and that's how you grow your channel. If you just sit there and watch it and you say, just because I don't need to subscribe or anything, and it doesn't cost you. It doesn't cost you anything at all. Of course, subscribe is just a way that if you click the notification bell, whenever we're doing something, you should get a thing saying, "Hey, In Pit Lane is going live in," and you'll learn all about that. Okay, anybody, we will see you. We will see you very soon. Thanks for joining us. And if I can stretch the arm up into the corner there and hit the button that says end stream, we will end stream in 3, 2.